Alright everyone, hail and welcome to this week's episode of Midgard Musings. And today is episode 2 of the Bragi's Corner series that I run here on the channel. If you go to the playlist section, you'll see that there are some series types things. We have the deity discussion series, there's been a Hávamál discussion series, and then this will be episode 2 of the Bragi's Corner series. Bragi's Corner is just a little storytelling segment that I have here on the channel, wherein I offer my own spin or my own rendition, such as it is, to some of the poems found in like the Poetic Edda, stuff like that. So if you haven't already, please become a subscriber to the channel. My name is Jesse and I host a weekly video here, talking usually about Norse heathenry related type subjects, things that may strike my fancy at the time. Become a subscriber, click bell for notifications so you're notified every time I upload new content. Check the description area for all the other ways that you can support Midgard Musings through Facebook, PayPal donations. There's a Teespring store for merchandise. All that kind of fun stuff is down in the description, so check all that stuff out. And then here in just a second we will get started with today's episode. Now today's episode of Bragi's Corner is going to be me kind of offering or reading my own version or putting my spin on the poem Hárbarðsljóð, which, if you've never read the poem before or you're not familiar with that poem, that is the poem in the Poetic Edda. It's one of the earlier poems of the Poetic Edda, and it is basically the fleeting or kind of a smack talking, back and forth between Odin and Thor. And what's going on in the poem is Thor is trying to cross the ferry, and the ferryman, who is a individual that Odin is disguised, known as Hárbarð, means graybeard, right? So the term Hárbarðsljóð is graybeard song. So today is going to be my spin on that poem. So as the story starts out, Thor is traveling back to Asgard, coming east from Jotunheim. He's had a really long day, probably a long week too, but he's finishing his day out with his duties of fighting and slaying the Jotnar out there, keeping the realm of Midgard and Asgard safe from their onslaughts. And he comes to a fjord. He comes to a place where there's land on his side and land on the other, and he needs to cross over this fjord, this body of water, to get to the other side to continue on his journey to Asgard. So he reaches here and he looks far to the other side, and he sees an older man sitting on the docks with a ferry, and he hollers over there. He says to him, "You over there, who are you on the other side of those waters?" And the ferryman, just in kind, hollers back, "Well, who is it that calls to me? Who are you? You want to know who I am? I want to know who you are." Thor says, "Well, I really need to get across the water here. I need to ride on your ferry. I don't really have any money, but I've got plenty of food in my basket. I had a really good breakfast. I got some really good things here, and you're welcome to it. And I can assure you that you've not had anything finer to eat today or any time recently. So bring that boat over here, please." And the ferryman says, he starts it right off the bat. He says, "Well, is that all the best you've got, is just boast about your breakfast? You don't even know if you'll make it back home in one piece. You got all this journey left. You're sitting here barking about your fish and your bread. Matter of fact, I think your mother is dead at home." And Thor is kind of taken aback, because he doesn't know this guy. Never seen him before, and he says, "What an awful thing to say. I mean, to say that my mother is dead? Like, you don't know me. I don't know you. Like, why would you, mama's jokes now? You're, like, really?" So the ferryman, as nonchalant as can be, says, "Well, you don't seem like the kind of guy who owns good farms or has good possessions, because look at you. You don't even have shoes on. You stand there barefoot. Your pants are tattered and torn. I don't like the looks of you." So Thor now, he's like, "I don't even know you for very long, and already you're starting to really get on my nerves." He says, "Why don't you bring that boat of yours over here, and I'll show you what type of man I am. By the way, whose boat is that even? Is that even your boat, Ferryman kind of shrugs off. It's some guy, his name is Healdolf. He lives in a pretty good land far off in the way. But he told me that I shouldn't be, giving rides out to folks that look like you, the likes of you. Probably a thief from the looks of it. Horse thief if I was to put a name to you. So I'm not going to give you a ride because you look like the beggarly type or the thieving type. But why don't you tell me your name, so that way if you do have a chance, I at least know who you are. So Thor replies and he says, well, if you're anybody who's anybody, which from the looks of it, you sitting on the other side of a river, operating another man's ferry, another man's boat, not even your boat. But if you were anyone who's anyone, you'd know who I am, and that I come from a very good family with a good name, because I am Thor. I am Odin's son. But now that you know who I am, why don't you tell me who you are? So Hárbarð, the ferryman, now identifies himself as, well, they call me Hárbarð, at least as of late, and I wouldn't lie about a thing like that. And that kind of takes Thor back a bit, and he says, well, why would you lie about such a thing if you weren't but trying to conceal something or trick me? Well, Hárbarð says, well, because I don't know you, and if I was to trick you, it would be to save my own skin, obviously. Look at you, the thieving type, the beggarly type. Who knew? I'm going to let you on my boat. You could rob me. I don't trust you. Well, Thor is kind of agitated. He's very agitated at this point because he's wasting precious time. He's like, look, it would be a waste of my time to try to wade out into this water. Not only would it be a waste of my time, but it would damage these clothes that I have on to come out there and deal with you. But you mark my words, Hárbarð, you will pay for these slanderous words. And so Hárbarð says, yeah, well, I'll be right here waiting for you. I don't think you've faced a bigger foe in me since Hrungnir. And Thor's like, oh, so you know about the whole Hrungnir deal, right? Okay, so you didn't know who I was before you asked me my name, but okay, you want to go there? Let me remind you what exactly happened to Hrungnir. I laid that fool flat out. He felt the wrath of my hammer Mjolnir, and I will do the same to you, Hárbarð. So tell me, since we're going to be here a little while, I wager, since I was doing this wonderful thing, what were you doing in the meantime? Hárbarð says, man, I was enjoying the spoils of war and the kindness of the local ladies. It was on an island, it was Owlgron or something or another. So Thor says, well, that sounds like it could be pretty fun, I guess. How were the women? So Hárbarð says, oh, we had all types, Thor, let me tell you. We had girls who liked to fight, we had girls who were a bit more docile. One time, matter of fact, is on this island, I had 7 sisters, all at once, all to myself. Enjoyed them all at the same time. I laid my charms on all the ladies there, and they couldn't resist me. So now, what have you got on that? And Thor says, well, perhaps you have heard of my greatest feat to date, and that of killing the Jotun Thjassi and his son Alvaldi. That was a pretty big one too. You know about Hrungnir, you also know about Thjassi, so given that is my greatest feat, what is yours? What about you? Well, at this point, Hárbarð's like, I sense a theme here, Thor. You're out fighting these Jotnar, and I'm here just seducing women, stealing other men's wives away from their husbands. What about that? So Thor says, well, it doesn't seem very good of you to be stealing other men's wives away and treating those men so. What do they ever do to you? Says Hárbarð, just shrugs it off. Who cares? Every man for himself is what I always say. What were you getting into at that point, Thor? Thor says, well, I was in the east fighting the Jotnar forces and keeping the humans of Midgard safe. If it hadn't been for me and my actions and what I do there would be none of the race of mankind left on Midgard. What about you? We'd guess. Probably more escapades with the ladies, right? Well, Hárbarð says, no, actually, I was down south, and I was fighting battles there on my own. And the way I do things, a little bit different than you, Thor. I turn princes against themselves, and I wage wars and battles between men amongst themselves, and I stir strife up. Better than anywhere, better than anyone. So You know what they say. Odin gets the strong men, Thor gets his servants. Well, Thor is like, boy, if you indeed did such things, then you truly are just a vile and unfair person, Hárbarð. I don't like you one bit. Hárbarð says, well, you know what, Thor? For all of your strength, you have no courage. You know, you sat there and quivered like a little girl when you found yourself in the giant's glove. You know, I remind you about that? Remember that? You sat there being a prince of cowards, more like it. The mighty Thor. Whatever. You're a sissy. Sissy? You calling me a sissy, Hárbarð? You're a sissy, screams Thor from across the water ice. Says, I'll wring your scrawny neck as soon as I get over there. And Hárbarð's not too worried about it, because he says, well, I'm the one that's got the boat, so how do you intend to do that? You already complained earlier that you don't want to waste your time or ruin your precious, little threads of clothes that you're wearing to get them all wet. That would just be terrible. So what are you going to do? I have the boat, so these cute little stories of yours, why don't you continue telling me more about all that? I'd like to hear some more about your amazing stories there, Thor. Or it says, well, look, Hárbarð, I've got many great stories to tell you of me slaying giants, and you have some lame stories of how many women you've bedded now. So, and then at that point, Thor gets interrupted because Hárbarð says, oh yeah, speaking of which, I remember this one girl who put up quite the struggle, and could have used your help, Thor, in helping hold her down, keep her under control. And Thor says, well, I guess I probably would have helped you, but never mind that. We would be able to go on and on and on, and I would not take your slander anymore. This has gone way too far. It's taken up way too much of my time. Well, says Hárbarð, that's just kind of what I do. I'm on my time here. I got nowhere to be, so I can do this all day long. Besides, you have a long journey ahead of you back to Asgard, and I'm sure you'll want to be on your way. We could be here. I got nothing to do. You've obviously got things to do. Why don't you just be on your way? Thor kind of just hands through his hair, grabs his beard. You fool, Hárbarð, he says. You're the one that's been keeping me, you're the one that's holding me up here. I'm trying to get through, and you're the one that's sitting over here telling me about all your stories. Now, are you going to help me get over this ferry, or aren't you? And Hárbarð says, whoa, excuse me, mighty Thor. Big and bad over there with your little threads and your clothes, your no-shoe wearing self. I didn't think that a meagerly ferryman such as myself could hold up the son of Odin. And Thor is furious right now. He says, look, you know what? My patience is at its end with you. I'm done with this whole thing. I'm done talking with you. I'm done dealing with your insults. Hárbarð, either you row that ferry over here to me now or tell me another way around. Well, Hárbarð's obviously not going to row the ferry over. He says, no, you're not riding my ferry today. You're going to have to hoof it. Thor's, by Loki, Hárbarð! You idiot! Will I get to Asgard before the end of the day? Because I've been held up here all this time. I need to know the quickest route back. And Hárbarð, in a roundabout kind of way, tells him where to go, how to get there, that sort of thing. If you stopped wasting my time and your time, Thor, as Hárbarð would say, if you stopped wasting my time and yours, you probably would have been halfway there by now. Thor says, well then, you've been of no help to me at all. Thanks for nothing. I'll get back to you. I'll get you back. Mark my words, I will get you back for this one of these days, Hárbarð. And Hárbarð says, yeah, man, okay, whatever. Go on, and I hope your journey sucks. I hope it sucks. Get out of here. Go on, beat it. So there you go, guys. The poem itself is rather long. If you've not read it in its source, the Poetic Edda, I definitely encourage you to do so, because there's a lot more fleeting going on that I didn't offer, that is offered in the original text or manuscripts. Of course, some of the phrasing is going to be a lot different because I threw some modern twist in on it. But there it is. There is the fleeting of Odin and Thor. Odin as the ferryman Hárbarð. So let me know what you guys thought of it. I think it's a pretty cool poem because, to me, it definitely offers a insight of the type of personality that Odin is and the type of personality that Thor is, because Thor is always, you know, when they're going back and forth and they're saying, okay, well, what about you? What did you do? What did you do? You know, everything that Odin boasts about is things to do that are treacherous and that are quite criminal. You know, he's talking about holding women down and having his way with them, and being, you know, seducing women's, you know, using magic to trick men's wives to seduce them away from their husbands, and turning princes against themselves and stirring conflict. All these types of things that seem pretty treacherous and downright nasty in a way. Whereas on the opposite end, you know, you have Thor, who boasts of his great feats of defeating the giants and defending Midgard and doing all these courageous things and displaying, you know, with displays of strength and bravery. So I like this poem a lot. It's one of my favorite ones. It offers a really, you know, the paradox between the two figures in mythology. So let me know what you guys thought of my offering, my rendition of the story. Tune in next week. I have a really cool video subject planned for next week. I'll announce it later on the Facebook page. So if you haven't already, check the description for the Facebook link. Become a friend or a follower of that page. Make sure the page is liked, following, all that fun stuff. So thank you again so much for watching. Right up here, you're going to see the floating Midgard Musings logo. It's going to be right around here. So when you click on it, if you haven't already, that will turn you into a subscriber of the channel. And then once you've done that, make sure you've clicked bell notification so you're notified every time I upload new content. Any of the other related videos that you see up here, please check those out. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you all again so much for watching. Everybody that's watching on Facebook, stick around so I can read the comments. Hail and thank you. I'll see you all again next week in the next video.